Keepers of the Cash, Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and tonight I have as co-host the one, the only, the grandfather of all of us here on YouTube, Metarog. Roger, how you doing this evening, sir?
I was doing great until the grandfather part, but thank you very much.
That was meant as a sincere compliment.
I know.
You brought us all into this.
Oh.
And, of course, our guest of honor, none other than the Magic Lasso himself. We have Ryan on. How you doing tonight, Ryan?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for the invite. And I was so excited to be here with you and everyone in the chat too.
Well, we'll get to the chat in just a second. But before we say hello to the chat, as I like to do in all my shows, Ryan, I want you to give yourself a quick introduction and what your channel's about.
Sure. Awesome. So I'm Ryan. You can find me on YouTube as Magic Lasso. I am a Wonder Woman collector, but I've been a superhero collector since as far back as I can remember. I don't remember a time in my life where there weren't superheroes involved in some way, shape, or form, if it wasn't a cartoon, shrinky dinks, toys, action figures to comic books. So I have several decades of collecting under my belt. My channel kind of right now focuses on the books that I've added into my channel, my back issues and my goals. And I also do like YouTube shorts called the back issue of the week, where I kind of take and spend 1 minute detailing why a book has been selected for that week and what's special or cool or what that story is about. And I do a series called Cover By with just a little podcast cookie and Comics for Thomas, where we kind of look at the A and the B variant and try to choose which is the better cover between the two. So, and I want to thank everyone who shows support to my channel. I get so many awesome comments, and I'm blown away that I've been able to use this forum to make such amazing friends in this community.
It is, and it's a community that infects you once you get in it in the best possible way. It draws you in, you become part with it.
Yeah.
Evening, Brock, Trev, Unruly. So let's say hi to the audience real quick, Lasso, and then we're going to get going with what you brought to show us.
Okay.
So coming in this evening, we had Unruly Simeon beating everybody in. Good evening, sir. Followed by the Gray Man. Oops, I'm early. Never too early, Graham. We love having you here, sir. Jean Malo, how you doing, Jean? Nicholas, how you doing tonight, sir? Werewolf by Lunch, good evening. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Darren.
Ignacio, how you doing? Whoop, there we go. Click on the right thing. I got stuff popping up as I'm trying to click. We have Mud Spidey all the way from Australia. Good evening, sir. Paul S., how are you? Brock Morgan, nice to see you in here. We, of course, have Trev. Nice to see you in here, Trev. The Jackson Roydkirk is here. We have Chris, son of a Bruce from Retro Rocket Comics. Good evening. And, all right, we're already getting off to a banging start. So why don't we segue that into your very first book that you have to show us tonight, Ryan?
Awesome. So there is a character that I think a lot of YouTube has associated me with, a comic book character. And then there's another character that I think is my B character that I've been associated with in YouTube, and I'm fine with this. So my first pick today, I actually want to dedicate. If you weren't this person, you knew who was, because every school, every group of friends had this person. And this is the person that was the last to be picked for a team. Comes time to play sports, and one person always gets chosen last. And you might say, well, what does this have to do with the first book that you're going to show tonight? I feel like this character is always the last one to get picked, and somebody has to like the Disco Dazzler.
She is not the last to get picked.
I knew that was coming. I knew it.
I am the biggest Dazzler. I have that book. I have the Air variant. I have her first appearance in X-Men. I have them signed by Jim Shooter. Nice. This channel is a huge Dazzler channel, not just the Barbarians. Ask Roger. I'm always pitching a Dazzler show to Disney.
Yep.
Yes, I knew that this was a safe place to pull this book out.
Yeah, it is.
So now it's interesting how my perspective has changed on Dazzler from a childhood collector to reading her as an adult collector. As a childhood collector, in this silver jumpsuit and the roller skates and she was fighting Galactus and Doctor Doom and the Hulk and stuff. And of course, it's her book, so she has to win.
Beat Terrax.
Yeah, and then they kind of changed it. You know, she kind of went a little more punk as the disco scene actually was fading away. Even when she first started, she was a little late to the game. And as a kid, I didn't like those stories when she didn't have the suit and stuff. but rereading them as an adult, those were the better stories. And I've also thought this week too about this character. I really think that they were working to make Rogue her arch nemesis, because there's quite a few Rogue appearances in this Dazzler book, in the series. So, because no one ever picks her for anything, with the exception of my present host, that's why she got picked first.
And it's a great 42 issue run. Then it has the follow up Beauty and the Beast, which is 4 issues, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and Ryan, if you had seen any of my past shows, ask Roger. Dazzler gets brought up all the time.
Yeah,
so,
and it's historically important.
Remember, there was a big banner on a lot of Bronze Age comic books.
So
there was a banner, and it would say this comic book could be worth $2,500 to you.
Right.
Yep.
I was a winner. I wasn't the $2,500 winner, but I won a Marvel subscription, and I chose Dazzler with my subscription.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow, cool story.
And I do remember that one of the things from the age bracket that I fell into, it had to be 25 words or less why you like whatever superhero it was. And all I remember is I chose Spider-Woman, and I said I liked her because she could fly.
Spider-Woman is one of my other favorites. I have all the Jessica Drew books from starting, even Marvel Spotlight 32. I got it in a nice crispy 8.0, but I would love to see a Dazzler Spider-Woman team up book that stayed not just a one issue one, just like a mini series, at least a 6-issue mini series with them.
Yeah, me too.
Jackson Roy Kirk is so funny down there.
That's funny. So, and it's funny, like I said Spider-Woman was my favorite, but I didn't choose her for my subscription. I chose the Disco Dazzler for my free Marvel subscription by winning that contest. So
nice.
And that is just such a phenomenal cover. There's like nothing that's not great about that cover.
Yes. And for those that don't know, this was the first comic book that ever was sold direct only. There are no newsstand copies of this cover.
Yeah, it's a very important comic when you think about it.
Historically, it is.
Yeah. And guys, you can get mint copies of this for $8 to $10, so go get them. And you can put the rest of the run together for $1.
Yeah, maybe not after the show, but if you hit anything now,
do it now.
Get it. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a regional thing or not, and I'm curious. I don't know if you guys even know either. Up here, at least where I'm at in the Midwest, the non-error copy is much harder to find than the error version.
Same thing here. Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of both here.
Do you? Okay. For those that don't know, there's Marvel in-house ads, and the error version, they were printed in black and white. And in the non-error version, they're colored like they were supposed to.
Right. I went through about 20 before I found the non-error one, so it's pretty rare down here.
Yeah. For me, I just found mine last year. In the wild, I should say. I mean, I know I could have bought one online, but I found one in the wild for the first time.
I just have one error one. All the rest are non-error. I have like 7 copies of just regulars.
Wow, that's weird.
Wow, that's to me, I think that's rare.
That is weird. Yeah.
Huh.
So that's where I wanted to start today with some roller skates and
great start. Great start.
Take us back to.
I mean, that's the best start to this show yet. So I was
going to say that's the best, man.
And I guess one other thing I'll say, if this plan had come together, because Dazzler was supposed to be a movie, a record, and a comic book.
Exactly.
And the only part that got completed was the comic book. That could have been something. I mean, that was good for Vision to do it. It's just the execution didn't happen right.
Now, to speak to Gore's thing, my pitch, and I've said it before, but I'm going to say it one more time, is for Disney Plus to do a Dazzler series set in the late 70s or early 80s, set her in that era so she has that costume with that music and just in that disco scene. That would be 6 issues in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s with the disco going on would be so much fun.
I think so.
Agreed.
I love what Jackson Roy Kirk said.
I thought all of them were errors. He's on tonight.
He is.
We got to get him down to the comedy club and get him on stage.
Yeah, I tell you, he's a cut up and a half.
Yeah,
Well,
we're gonna have to. He'll be charging a cover charge just to come into our chat. So.
Well, I mean, after Dazzler 1, I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, where we go from here? Come on, Ryan.
We're gonna do another number one.
All
and
right.
This is a book that didn't come into my life until this year. It came into my life when I was unemployed, and it's one of the more expensive books I've bought in my life. And I still bought it when I was unemployed because, first of all, I had the money. I'm very good with managing money and setting money aside and throwing a little money here or there into an envelope, whatever. I'm really good about that and not touching it until I get what I need. And I had an envelope that was just buy an expensive comic book envelope of money. And that's what I decided to do. And I didn't even use all of my money. It is low grade, but it's okay because I never in my life thought I would own Justice League #1.
Ooh.
Very nice.
Yes.
So I am working on my Justice League Volume 1 run. And I'm sitting about 80 issues away from completing that. So that was 261 issues, Roger?
261. Yep. That's right. Yep.
So 80 away from that and is not bad. And I have most of the keys. I have 1. I do have 2. It isn't here yet, but it's paid for. I have 3. I have 9, the Origin. I have 21, the first JLA JSA team up.
Crossover, yeah.
So I've got a lot of the big ones out of the way. It surprises me how affordable these books still are. Maybe with the exception of this one, but I never thought I would own this book in my life.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. Very nice, Ryan. And that book has been homaged now a ton of times. I've seen it in the 80s and 90s all the time.
Yeah.
It's getting homaged. So
yeah,
it tells you how popular it has been at some point.
Yeah.
And you could just tell the era by the cover, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little trivia, there is no place on the cover where it says issue 1.
Oh.
You have to look in the indicia
Wow.
for the confirmation on that. So
nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
It's just so weird how they always pictured them sitting down. Or what I really like what they did with the Justice League a lot is whenever there was a cover where they were all captured, a lot of times they're all in like a capsule or frozen in ice that looks like capsule. They just had the funniest, the whole team's captured covers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's cages and stuff. Yeah.
Just the thought of this is your arch nemesis is like, yeah, let's sit down and play a parlor game,
Yeah.
Now, what got you interested in the Justice League? Was it because Wonder Woman's a member, or was that the only reason, or was there other things?
I like I'm really drawn to team books because I love getting a lot of characters at once.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of Super Friends, which was a big influence of me becoming a comic book collector. And it was a lot Wonder Woman too, but I enjoyed the issues where she's not in. And there were years where she was an inactive member, wasn't a member, and Black Canary took her place when she was quote unquote powerless.
Yeah, the mod years and
yeah. So I don't know, and it wasn't really until about the last year that I thought I'm going to do this run, I'm going to lock it in, and I'm going to complete it whenever I complete it. But that's the big primary focus right now is Justice Leagues, just adding them in when I can afford them and when I find them.
And it's such a good feeling when you complete a run. It really is.
Oh yeah.
Well, just the night that I realized I found this book, and I'm like, when I realized that I didn't even know I had enough money in my little budget. And I went to bed that night and I went, you could buy this book. Like right now, you could order this book online and buy this. And I almost couldn't sleep that night because I was so excited.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, Ryan.
It's what paper can do to you. It can make you lose sleep.
Right? It sure can, but it's fun.
Can make you lose a lot of stuff if you're not careful, yeah.
So moving on, the third book that I have to show, this book is going to represent a lot of things, but primarily what it's going to represent are the early TV shows and superhero things that we got. Films, TV shows, I'm talking Super Friends cartoon. I'm talking Spider-Woman cartoon. I'm talking Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I'm talking the Shazam TV show, and I'm talking The Secrets of Isis.
ISIS. Nice.
Ooh,
This
Very
book, and I chose this one. You see her first
I'm jealous
appearance.
of that one.
Yeah. You see her first appearance in Shazam 25, and you see the first issue of her own run, which lasted 8 issues. You see those in comic stores or comic shows frequently. The rest of her 8-issue series is hard to find. It's not expensive, but it's hard to find.
Yep.
This
Agreed.
issue tells her origin, which they never did until this issue. Sorry, this is issue 7. Until they did it here in issue 7. But they had what I thought they really got a good groove going with this, where Andrea Thomas was really dealing with the fact that she's ISIS, but they were like 2 different people and 2 different personalities. And I wish this book had continued. I wish there were more issues. I love the artwork, the Mike Vosberg artwork. It's so my era. And I can't rave about this enough. I mean, it's a bum rap, the name that she has, and what got associated with that. But
It's too bad because I always thought that character should have popped.
Yeah.
And I'm with you with Mike Vosberg. Like, part of the reason that first Savage She-Hulk run is great was because of him.
Yeah.
Like, he did such great work on it. And then on the original Starfire comic, that 8-issue run, so good.
I've never actually read that.
It's good stuff. I think they were both victims of the DC implosion, unfortunately.
They were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the trade dress on the ISIS book.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
It's such a cool design. It works so well. Like, that book should not have failed.
It shouldn't have.
Yeah. It was just a bad time. DC management was just oversaturated the market and they had to make cuts. And unfortunately that was one of them.
Yeah. And to answer Jedi Farce, I mean, they're saying that ISIS, called ISIS, is going to be in the Black Adam movie, which is coming out next month. That's what they're saying. So,
well, and people got to be smart enough to separate mythology from the crap that's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So this book actually inspired something that I don't know if I've ever thought about much, if at all, until this week, knowing I was coming on the show. And I started thinking, what is a comic book adaptation from one of those early shows that we never had, that we should have had? And I would love to know your guys' answer. If you don't mind, I'll share mine with you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Legends of the Superheroes. If you remember that was a two episode live action DC superheroes, and a comic book with those same characters, to me, would be amazing.
Oh.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. And they essentially fought, like a Legion of Doom style. Mm-hmm. They had the villains, they had the characters. That show, which aired on Friday nights, I think if that show had aired on Saturday mornings, maybe at 11 a.m., that could have had a home.
What was it called again, Ryan?
Legends of the Superheroes.
All right, I'm going to have to look that up because you know what? I'm not familiar with that.
It is on one of the streaming platforms has it, and it might be Tubi, which is the free one.
I do like Tubi.
They might have it. Some platform has it on there right now.
I'll be looking it up after the show. Trust me.
That's a very interesting pick, Ryan. That's kind of an obscure kind of pick, but I like it. I think it would work. By the way,
I think it would have been fun. Let me tell you too, Gary. Adam West and Burt Ward reprised their roles in
there. Yep.
2 episodes.
Yep.
Oh, the 2 wait a second. Was that the one too where they came? Where it was like a live show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a live show.
It was live action. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I did. I think I saw the first episode. The costumes were really bad, but they were fun.
It was campy. It was low production value, but the concept I think was solid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I did see it. I have heard. Okay, nice. Well, I would pick The Greatest American Hero.
Oh yeah, believe it or not.
Right. Just to see where they could take that story in comics. Yeah, there was a show, you watch it now and you can see that it wasn't a good show, but it's still there's a heart to that show that's there that draws you back to it.
Yep. There is a Greatest American Hero like Hot Wheel car that's in Walmart right now because I saw it.
Oh,
Huh. Cool.
Yeah. What about you, Roger? Is there anyone you would pick?
You know, back in the day, I was, you know, this is going to seem weird, right? I was a big Speed Racer fan from the manga thing. I just thought that would be such a great, you know, kind of graphic novel kind of because he had a family and he had, you know, intrigue. He had his brother was Racer X, and why did he have to hide his identity? All of that could have been, you know, in the right hands, could have been a dynamite little series. So that's what would be my pick.
Awesome.
Nice.
Very
and I
cool.
never would have pegged Roger for Speed Racer, which is really fun to learn.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
Full of surprises, Gary. Full of surprises.
Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are. All right, number 4, Ryan.
Okay, so this book I picked because I'm going to show the book first and tell you the childhood memory that is associated with this.
Oh, nice.
So we
Black
have
Widow.
Tales of
Yeah.
Suspense 52, first appearance of Black Widow, who my autocorrect always calls the Black Window.
Can't see through her.
Black Window.
This character looks a lot, or is a lot different now, you know, obviously than she was here in 1964. So my story with this is, as I said, I go back to being a childhood collector. Now, I lived in a little town with no fast food, no stoplights, not close to a big city, an hour away from a big city. But I did get my comic book stores. I had 2 outlets in the 70s. I had a grocery store and a drugstore to get comic books from. But when it came to old comic books, and even then, I wanted the old comic books when I was a kid. The closest actual comic book store was an hour away in Dubuque, Iowa.
Wow.
And that's cool. And I got a lot of stuff there. But one time, the family went on vacation to the Chicago area to see some relatives. And in one of the Chicago suburbs, my cousin said, I'm going to take you to a Chicago comic book store so you can see what that's like. And I remember this store being huge. This is a book I bought as a back issue as a little kid at that Chicago comic book store, and I paid $3.
Wow.
Woo!
Nice get for $3.
That's the way to do it, Ryan.
I've liked both of these characters a lot, and right now I'm working on my the Daredevil run, the Bronze Age Daredevil run with Black Widow as a guest star and then eventual co-headliner. That's the run I'm working on, and I've never read those stories till now, and pretty much every one that I pick up, I'm like, this is a home run. You know, this is good.
That's a grand slam, I'd say.
Yeah.
It is.
Woo.
And of course, she's great in the comics, and she finally did get her due, or more people recognized her after the movies. But like the last run that they just had with her was really good too. You know, Kelly Thompson writing, and they've been doing some good stuff with the character. But I loved the old depiction of her, and when she'd show up in Spider-Man books, and like when the Black Widow showed up, you didn't know what was going to happen, which was fun.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I've got to get, I don't have the first comic book where she dons a costume, you know, that real interesting pointy mask and the fishnet thing and the little miniature cape. I don't have that. And I don't have where she dons like the sleek widow costume that we know her in that, I think that's ASM, what, 86?
86, 87, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Those are on my want list though. So
yeah, when she zips up there, I was like, woo!
Yeah. So I like Black Widow a lot.
See, I knew I had to get Ryan on here because, like me, he's another one that likes the strong female characters in the comics.
I do.
Yep.
Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Yep. I didn't see that one coming. You got me on that one, Ryan.
Okay. So, and for all those people that are going, where are the modern comic books?
Nah, not this class. The class we have here wants the ones we're seeing.
Maybe. That's all I'll say. Stay tuned, maybe. So this next book ties in with the last book. And as I said, I love group books.
Oh, Champions 1. What a nice book.
First of all, if you would say to me, pick some of the best all-time Marvel covers of any era, this book is going to at least make my top 3. I love it. I love it that much.
Oh, it's spectacular.
I love this series. I love the characters that they chose for this series. I love that they made Black Widow the team leader. I thought that the end of this run, towards the end of the run, and when John Byrne was starting to work on this, I thought this book has a little bit of trouble. And Roger, I think you talked about this when you were doing your retrospective of this.
Yeah.
They you could tell for a while they didn't know what direction they were going or should go, or the book lost a little focus.
Yeah, it was a little uneven.
At the end. At the end, it got it back.
Right at the end, they did. Yep.
Yeah, and I wish it would have had more to see where that could have gone.
And I'm blanking now. What was the name of Black Widow's partner from Russia in that series? I'm blanking on his name right now.
I know it's.
Oh, the chauffeur, her chauffeur. What was his name? Somebody will tell us in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm blanking on that. I can see his face with a mustache thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, no, because that's I mean that book went up and down.
Ivan. Yeah, Ivan. That's it.
Ivan.
Ivan Petrov. Yeah.
Yes, Ivan. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was. I couldn't remember it for the life of me.
Yep, that's it. Petrovich. Okay. Petrovich.
And for those that are wondering why the Angel's costume is the way it is, it was my understanding that they had too many costume heroes in blue.
Blue, you're right.
So they needed someone in red. So they needed a different color, which is why we got what we got.
Yep.
Now let me ask you. So you got Warren Worthington III as the Angel. Then he becomes Archangel, and I know people love Archangel, but I'm partial to him with the wings and without the Death Rider of Apocalypse look.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And
of course, I'm a big Ghost Rider fan, so when I picked that up because of the Ghost Rider, Ryan, not because of the Black Widow.
Gotcha.
Because he was hanging out in L.A. during his own book,
Mm-hmm.
Hanging out with Karen Page and all that, doing stunt work. So this was actually, when you think about it, these characters didn't just come from nowhere; they were in the area before, and they were amalgamated in that book.
And see, also one of my favorites in that series was Iceman.
Mm-hmm. Iceman's cool. Now, I love watching John's Comics with Kids and No Good Comics when they do their Omni X-Men show. And a lot of times in that chat, if Angel is part of that issue, he gets a lot of grief in the chat. But as I've told John, and I've told this chat, you have to remember, being pretty is a full-time job.
And another underrated character in that book was Darkstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wanted that to become a main character. I thought they could have did a lot with her.
She was supposed to be. She was supposed to be, but again, because the writers they sort of switched off the writers, that the original plan went kablooey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I originally was going to pick a different issue of this. I was going to pick the last issue with the Sentinels on the cover, because that is such an amazing cover as well. But really, like I said, when I started thinking about this, my top 3 favorite Marvel covers of all time, this falls in. This had to be the one to represent Champions.
And not only that, but when you think of all these series that started, and you have to think of the introductory cover to each of these series. That's one of the strongest intro covers to a series I think out there.
Wow.
Like, if you're a kid and you walk in, how are you not going to want that book?
Yep. I still remember the moment, as a little kid getting back issues when I could get to that comic store an hour away, and them pulling out this book And I don't even know if that time, if I knew what the cover looked like, probably didn't. Because if Overstreet didn't put it on the top of the little page that year, I didn't know what the cover looked like. You know,
Right.
there was no internet to look at.
Nope.
Right.
And this was even before, you know, in the 80s, they did a little bit of those indexes too, that would show you like with a little synopsis about the book, but it would show you each cover. This is before that. So a lot of times, the first time I ever saw these covers was when that comic store was pulling them out of the box.
Yeah, those were the days, man.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Yeah,
And
I
we
remember
got,
those indexes. That went a long way into my collecting because I could actually tell. Oh, this crossed over with that and so forth.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And did you ever? I like the Hercules stories they had in Marvel. What was it? Premiere, Roger.
Yes.
I have it. I read it. That's a fun little story too.
Yeah, that's the Kirby cover on that one. Yeah, the what Werewolf by Lunchtime is talking about is that on Marvel Team Up 28, Manhattan was separated from by the bridges from the New York, and Hercules used a big chain and actually moved it back. So that's what he was talking about. He pulled it back in.
And you thought you had a rough day at work.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that was really a Herculean effort, I thought. But
Yeah.
Good Jackson. Ugh, he pulled it back into place. Jackson's all fired up tonight.
Oh, he is, man.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
they say
got
nothing
one.
about the bridges or, you know, the fact that it would have torn a piece of the island off. Nah.
Oh, come on. Remember in those days, too, especially in like Spidey Super Stories or whatever, you could pick up a whole building, set it back down, and everything still worked there.
Everything's fine. Works.
Yes.
Plumbing,
As long as you
everything's
set it
fine.
back down where it was good. All the electrical fixed itself, all the plumbing fixed itself. You know, it was all fine.
Yeah.
Good
All
point.
right, number 6, sir.
All right.
Ooh.
Nice.
So DC Comics presents issue number 9, and this is the first time Superman and Wonder Woman teamed up in this title.
Oh,
This goes back, and I think Wonder Woman did 3 appearances as team-ups with Superman as the headliners in this book. So this goes back to my childhood. My original copy of this, the covers are detached and so well loved, and I still have that. I won't throw that out. That's my original copy. That, you know, that went to this book, not this specific copy, but this book went to school with me every day, maybe for all of kindergarten. And I looked and I poured through every page of it. And I loved every page of it. And that Joe Staton artwork, and getting to meet Joe Staton a couple years ago and tell him these memories I had, and he was so nice, and he said to me, he goes, people don't ever
Very
brush
nice
over
man.
my work. And he was so appreciative, he wanted to take a picture with me on his phone.
wow, so
So-
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a super nice man. Yeah.
Yeah,
I met him back in the 80s, and he was just a darling.
yeah.
And I
So-
always thought it was a shame that Wonder Woman didn't get her own team-up book.
Right?
You know, you had The Brave and the Bold, which was a Batman team-up book, and you had World's
That-
Finest, which was a
yeah.
Superman. But Wonder Woman never got her own team-up book for someone that was the Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't. That was too bad. There was supposed to be a book, if you remember, Roger, what was that called? 4-Star
4-Star Spectacular.
4-Star Spectacular.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a book that was a 5-star, like 5-Star Spectacular, and issue 1 had Wonder Woman. Like the cover art was revealed for it, but the book never got
Never
published
came out,
because of
yeah.
the DC implosion.
Yeah.
But I think that she was going to be like the big glue in that series, and they were all separate stories, like reprints.
Right.
I think it was going to be, but she, you know, while Superman always had a book and Batman had, she was going to be that, and then lesser known heroes other than her would round out the rest of the book.
Yeah. Again, just bad timing there.
Yeah.
It was just a bad time because they expanded too much, and yeah, they had
Yeah.
great ideas, but they had too much of a great idea, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, but this issue, I mean, there's nothing. They fight an ice monster. I mean, it sounds very Scooby-Doo-ish, and the ice monster looks very Scooby-Doo-ish. But
Mhm.
there's something about this that
Yeah, but it's such magic for the time. Like when you look at that cover, it's just pure fun. Like how can
Yeah.
you look at that cover and not enjoy it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if you're in kindergarten, you have that,
Yeah.
all the kids are going to want to see it,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. There's it's something
you
that
got a
they
cool
want to see,
comic,
something the
I
world
wish I
wants
had
to see.
that,
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I think probably all of kindergarten year, every day, this book went with me in my book bag.
Cool.
Now,
So it had to
since
be.
I got you on the show too, I've always wanted to ask you this question. I'm sure other people have. What did you think of the 66 not the 60s, I'm sorry, the old Wonder Woman show? Like, did you grow up loving it like the rest of us, and just Linda Carter was just absolutely perfect in the role? And
Perfect casting. I mean, she looked like she walked out of the comic book.
right.
So I do remember watching Wonder Woman. I don't have my specific memories of watching original Wonder Woman is more I remember I would watch the show, and when I was done watching TV or a commercial was on or something, I would go in my bedroom and I'd get down on my knees and I would pray. I say, "Oh God, I want to meet Wonder Woman. I want to meet her." And 10 years ago, here I am at a Linda Carter concert backstage, waiting for my turn, and literally that memory flashed in my mind. And
Wow.
I told her, and next thing I know, her arms went out and were coming towards me.
Oh,
And there's a photo of her hugging me.
oh,
And
Wow. What a moment.
she wasn't like what I thought she would be like in person.
Hmm.
She was better.
I'll say, whenever I've
And
seen anything of her, she's so just genuinely kind.
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's what I've
literally, when that concert started, and remember, this was 10 years ago, several decades after Wonder Woman. That concert started, and when I saw her, and I sat front row so close my feet could touch the stage. And I sat front row. The first time I saw her, though, I was like, it's Wonder Woman. It just is Wonder Woman. And getting to talk to her after the show, and she said, I said all this nice stuff to her, and she said, really, I'm the one who should be thanking you. And I kind of looked at her, and she said, you got all dressed up in a suit and a tie tonight. You sat in the front row and you smiled at me the entire concert and made me feel so good while I was singing. She goes, I'm the one who needs to thank you.
Wow, what a nice comment.
Oof.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but when you saw her in that post-credit scene in the new film, it was like melting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, you go back and you watch some of the episodes right now, and some of them, yeah, they're a little cheesy and a little hokey.
A little goofy.
But there actually are some really good episodes
There
in
are.
that series too.
Yeah.
But I'll
there-
always have a soft spot for that two-parter with the aliens.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, she was much better than that Kathleen Crosby
Oh,
thing that came
Yeah.
up before. I was like,
I remember that one, Roger.
I was like, is this Wonder Woman or?
I do have to say I was really curious about the Adrian Padalecki one, because she looked good in the costume. She's a decent actress and she can do stunts. And it's too bad that they decided the script was garbage. But I was curious to see how her portrayal would have been.
so I've seen it. I've seen the entire thing.
Yeah.
And the Wonder Woman parts were pretty decent. The non-supporting characters, that stuff was bad. And what they should have done, they were flying through so much in one episode. If they would have slowed down, not added to it, but just taken the script and flushed out a little bit more and made it a 2-hour for the first premiere,
Right.
things would have flowed a lot better and a lot smoother. The main casting was good. The side casting was not.
True.
Look, Linda Carter is still a knockout today.
She is.
What is she, 70 something? I mean,
Yeah.
70 something, and
yeah. I mean, it's
And
amazing.
she's got a daughter that's just as gorgeous as her.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of you know that I had a very successful career in radio. And one of the things in radio, every year on my birthday, I would get a mystery caller, a mystery celebrity would call in and sing happy birthday to me. And
Wow.
one year it was Linda Carter.
Ooh.
Ryan, man.
So
Dude, how'd you even do the show after that? I just sort of like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Linda Carter saying to me.
I was like, how do you concentrate after that? I mean, come on.
it was a surreal moment because I know that's Linda Carter. It sounds just like Linda Carter. And it was like I was watching me do it. As weird as that, it felt very out of body-ish. Like I was just watching me do this.
Wow. Dude, that's so amazing. Like when you talk about people you'd like to meet, Linda Carter is definitely up there.
Yeah.
And not just because of Wonder Woman, but just because of the kind of person you've always seen her represent herself as in the public eye.
My experience in meeting her was so good. I don't know if I'd ever want to meet her again because if it didn't live up to that, I mean, it's high now. I mean, that was high. I do have those.
Now, you should play. Can you play those on your YouTube channel at all?
I could. I have to upload them and do a little editing, but yeah,
Oh,
I have them.
I think that's something we need to hear.
Yeah, that would be popular, Ryan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then we need to tag Linda Carter for this episode.
Oh, man.
No, I just remember like she was just one of those iconic figures when I was growing up.
Mhm.
You know, you had her and you had Lou Ferrigno, right? They were the two most iconic when you were a comic fan growing up, and both just super nice people.
I was mad at the Dukes of Hazzard for a long time because they took Wonder Woman's spot on Friday night CBS.
Oh,
Oh boy.
And
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
what
well,
they
if them Dukes didn't come along, my Wonder Woman still would have been there.
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
and Daisy Dukes is no substitute for Linda Carter.
Mhm.
No.
But there's no one in that air. But I do, and I will say this too. I do love Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. She is again. You don't think you can cast the role perfectly again, and then they do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she brings grace, beauty, and just a strength to the character, which is what that character needs to be represented. You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
But some people do forget that they were trying to do a Wonder Woman movie like at the end of the 90s,
Yep.
and they couldn't get the casting for it. Warner Brothers studio stores, when those existed, they even had national casting contests where you could go into the studio store and apply to be the next Wonder Woman.
Wow.
Yeah,
But they couldn't
find
get
anybody.
the right casting on it.
They couldn't
They
find
probably didn't have the right script either, let's face it, back then.
Probably not.
But things happen for a reason, and I guess it was meant to be.
It was worth the wait. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, let's get to number 7 because I think we just spent like 35 minutes on number 6 with our Linda Carter
It went like this, though.
fanboying out, the three of us, right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Look at the drama on the cover for this.
Oh,
Mm.
that's one of my favorite covers that I don't own. At some point in my life, I've got to get a Dark Crisis cover.
What?
I have to get that cover.
What?
It is just amazing.
I'm shocked.
So I chose this book because I had never seen anything like Crisis on Infinite Earths as a collector, buying it month to month in my life. To what is going on. And, back then, remember, there was no internet to see stuff ahead of time. There was nothing. But they showed a little tiny picture of this in the letter page on the previous issue, showing what the next cover was going to look like. And I'm like, no way am I seeing what I'm seeing. So I knew that this is what the cover was going to look. And I had a whole month to sit there and go, no way. And I'm like, come on, there's a loophole. There's something,
Yep.
And there wasn't. And I just never.
Oh, go ahead.
know.
And I always liked Supergirl better than Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read her last series, which was so good, Woman of Tomorrow?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's a great read,
Is
Ryan.
it?
And it gives you a perspective on Supergirl that is absolutely amazing. Like how she sees herself versus how she's seen. And there's stuff said in it which makes you think about her in a different way. and have more respect for the character. It's an amazing 8-issue story.
Yeah. This book also, as a pick, represents an experience that I had a couple years back at C2E2 in Chicago in meeting George Perez. First of all, everyone that's met George Perez has a positive George Perez story. He is like the textbook example of the perfect fan or the perfect creator-fan interaction.
Agreed.
And my experience with him, after waiting in line 4 hours and 50 minutes to get my turn, because it was his first appearance after announcing his retirement.
Wow.
Mm.
And it was worth it, because when it was my turn, the energy that came at me, he seemed excited to meet me.
Wow.
And he had met lots of people. He had met 4 hours and 50 minutes worth of people before.
Right.
And what I learned that day, I knew I was always, I don't want to say jealous. I admired his talent. I knew that before I met him. But after meeting him, I realized I admired his personality more than his talent.
And that's the best too, when you actually meet a creator and they're just better than you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just better people than you could have thought.
When any human being makes you want to be a better person, that's an amazing person.
Agreed.
And I say that with the person here present that I have described as the nicest person on YouTube, which is Roger.
Oh, thank you.
Somewhere, Bill Comic Mag Musing's stomach just turned.
Yeah, I had the same, by the way, the same kind of intro. I met him back in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you describe it to a T. He makes you feel like you're important versus whether he's important.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met him, it wasn't a long line back then. He wasn't, as popular or anything, but
mm-hmm.
He just was like, thank you for coming by. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for thanking me. Like he was, like I was special. And that, especially nowadays, that is an incredibly rare trait.
And one of the artists that, like a Barry Windsor Smith, he's not afraid to put detail in the panels.
Oh, not at all.
Very much so.
It's not just the characters in a black, gray, green, red, or blue background. It's just everything's full.
Thank you, Brock. That's very nice of you to say in the
Thank
chat.
you, brother.
But that, if you look at my 1011, by the way, Ryan, you'll notice that was one of mine as well.
Awesome.
So, needless to say, you
have
it's just incredible taste, my friend.
I don't think anyone that's in the comics wouldn't look at that cover and love it. It doesn't matter if you're an independent fan, a Marvel fan. That cover is absolutely amazing,
and the story is just knocked down. I think I said that during my 10. It's the first time I cried reading a comic. That's how impactful it was to me.
Yeah. So the next book, I'm kind of getting close, but not recently. But tears have fallen reading this next comic book in the past for me. I can reread this comic book anytime, and it gets the feels.
Oh, yeah.
So when you are a Wonder Woman fan, more than likely you're also a Donna Troy fan.
Absolutely.
Wonder Girl. And Donna Troy in the red jumpsuit is my jam. I like my Ms. Marvel in the black lightning bolt, and I like my Donna Troy in the red jumpsuit.
It's funny. I was going to ask you if you were a Donna Troy fan, but you just answered it.
So this issue is it's a one issue story. It really the only Teen Titans that are in it are Robin, Wonder Girl, and you see Starfire, like a photo of Starfire in a picture frame, and that's it. And this is Robin investigating Wonder Girl. This is the second time that they did an origin. And Marv Wolfman wrote her original origin in the Silver Age Teen Titans. And at the end of that issue, that's where she adopts the red jumpsuit for the first time. This issue, they expand on it more. And I knew Donna Troy's origin as a little kid collector before this issue came out and expanded on it. And one thing, this goes to tell you how naive I was back then. this baby was rescued by Wonder Woman in a fire, and she's an orphan. She gets taken to Paradise Island. She becomes Wonder Woman's sister in quotation marks. You know, she's given Amazonian powers and stuff. How naive I was. I spent probably a good couple years of my very young childhood trying to research and find out what issue of Wonder Woman was it where she went in and got that baby. Never dawned on me that they would just make it up at the time because they needed it to have happened, and it happened off panel, off issue. I just thought, well, if they said it happened. And I have to find it.
You're chasing a ghost there, my friend.
I chased a ghost for at least 2 years, if not more, trying to figure out what it was that I needed. I knew what I needed. I just couldn't figure out. And there wasn't an internet to look on then. No. There was an Overstreet price guide, and if you didn't say it, you were in trouble.
And I love that 4-issue series they gave her too when she came back.
Yeah. Return of Donna Troy. So Phil Jimenez has got a nice grasp on that character too. He gets Wonder Woman, he gets Donna Troy too, and his art is very Perez-like, light, I should say, Lite.
Now, have you seen Titans with her on it?
Yeah.
I think the actress that plays her does a good job.
Yeah, I agree. So if I met that actress, I think this is the comic book I'd have her sign. I actually, I've never submitted to CGC before, but this year I did because I submitted, or at the end of last year, whenever it was, for the final George Perez CGC signing that didn't end up happening. I submitted this book. Didn't care that it's not a key. It's just a book that the feels.
Right.
Know? That's why I did it. So
dynamite story. Absolutely dynamite.
Yeah. You can find a mint copy of this. I mean, under $5.
I've never read it, so I'm going to go look for that tomorrow and try to get myself a copy.
I hope you're successful because I think that you're treated.
What issue was that again? I mean, I'll just look for the cover, but
38.
Yeah, 38.
Yeah, from 38 through 44, that little half a year is some of the best Teen Titans you're ever going to read.
Yeah. Absolutely love this story.
And you also have when Robin and Flash give up their identities after that, and then you have, of course, the famous Nightwing arc with where they would get betrayed.
By Tara.
By Tara, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 9, sir.
The next book.
This is spectacular. You are giving great stories with these, man. I'm loving these.
Yeah, this is as good or even better than I thought. So
thank you. So this next book is going to be the hardest book for me to talk about out of all of them. And see, already I kind of feel this. So I want to just talk about the book in general first, why I like the book. Because that way, if I start getting into a point that I can't talk, I'm just done with it. So I'm just
okay.
I'm just chucking it. I love Phoenix. Jean Grey Phoenix. Love Phoenix. I considered for a little bit pulling X-Men 136. That might be my very first ever introduction to Jean Grey Phoenix. And I'm like, who is this woman? Something's really wrong with her. And then I didn't get another X-Men issue till like 5 or 6 later, and she was nowhere to be found. But that cover is so close to the Crisis cover that I pulled that I'm like, no, I don't want to. Those covers are very similar. So instead,
nice.
X-Men 101. I think, as we all know, 100 is at the last page of issue 100. The Phoenix Force has impacted Jean as this shuttle is about to crash into the water. And this is our first taste. Now, I was too young to have this as a new book. I needed this as a back issue. And I just love Phoenix it was that X-Men 136 that connected me to her. And I picked up, a lot of the comic books that had Phoenix in it. But even back then, X-Men comic books back issues were expensive. Of course, expensive back then and expensive now are two different things.
Right, because now they're astronomical.
Yeah, exactly. So this book, what came about with this book, you used to in the day, if you needed a back issue that wasn't in your area, you would write a letter to a comic book store. And hello, sir, do you have X-Men 101 from Ryan? And they'd write you back and tell you if they did or if they didn't.
Right.
And one wrote me back and they said, we do, it's $22. Now, $22 back then in 19 whatever, that was a lot of money. And I didn't feel good about the odds of mom and dad buying that for me. Even though I'm an only child, I didn't feel good. I didn't think my odds were good on that. So when you don't think your odds are good on that, what do? You go to grandma.
Grandma.
Yeah.
And I had such a great relationship with grandma. So I was telling her about this. And grandmas and grandpas back then, they typically spend about $10 on you for a Christmas present. This had to be around Christmas time because she said, we'll get that for your Christmas present this year.
Wow.
And send away for it. And I knew ahead of time that I was getting it, which that might have been one of the few gifts I knew in advance, or the first time in my life, I should say, I knew in advance that I was going to get this gift. But I still remember sitting on that Davenport and still opening it and that feeling of seeing it and knowing that it was mine.
Wow.
Now, let's hypothetically say someone said to me, Ryan, I will give you a 9.9 CGC slab yellow label signed by every person imaginable associated with this book, but you have to give up this copy. So I was telling the guys before the show started, we were talking about pulling books, and I said, I had a little bit of an emotional experience. So last night when I was pulling books, you stop and you realize how special people are. And then you realize they've been gone half your life.
Right, and you still got their kindness with you today.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's
story.
what this book represents.
Yeah, that's a priceless memory. You can't put any number on that.
I knew this was going to be the hard one to get through, but I didn't want to skip it.
No, that's important. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for that story. That's
just imagine the joy that she had getting you that book and seeing you open it too.
Yep.
Because I still got the feelings.
Those never go away. Those never go away, Ryan.
Yeah.
And
so that's I also, as I told Gary, I said I put the mental in sentimental. So
no, that is a great story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and anytime I see a copy of this book, it brings that back to me. But this copy specific, this is my book.
Oh yeah. That's fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah.
So thank you to whomever decades ago sold it to that store so she could buy it for me.
Wow. I remember those days writing into stores and the ads in the comics to find, I was sometimes missing 2 or 3 issues. So I'd write 3, 4 letters and maybe one would respond.
Yep.
And I think I've only gotten 2 times packages from way back then. Most of the time.
I had a lot of success.
Yeah,
but,
you did.
When you find one that would write back to you, you kept using them.
Yeah.
Right.
My tastes are a little bit obscure, so they didn't have too many of Son of Vulcan, so.
And once they knew you were a good payer, then they'll of course.
Yeah, right. Every once in a while, though, they would have them.
Yeah.
That is great. That is a highlight story, Ryan.
Yeah, that's off the chain good.
Yeah, All-Star Comics 74 was another book that I remember writing to everybody trying to get, and I had a tough time getting that book. But I eventually did. So
cool.
But I love Jean Grey, and I love Phoenix. I love what they did with this character. I love what they did with Dark Phoenix, and that entire storyline to this day I love so much. I think they went a little fast on it. I wish they almost could have slowed it down to have more. Of course, the original plan was for all of that to pay off in issue 150, but they got on such a roll that it just kept going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
And I'm even enjoying, for those that don't know, John Byrne has his own fan fiction, If Phoenix Had Survived.
Oh.
And I enjoy those issues as well.
Yeah, he wanted her to survive.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be killed off, her to be killed off.
Yeah.
And so he wrote, there's the alternate ending also from that special.
Yep.
Which is, I think, a must get if you're a Phoenix fan too.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and you never want to see your favorite character killed off.
No.
You know?
And that's why he brought her back in when he was writing Avengers and Fantastic Four, because he was just so upset that he had to kill her off.
Of course, Dazzler was going to have that position until they decided to bring her back. So there goes old Daz again.
Yep.
Poor Daz, always getting the shaft.
Yep.
All
Nice.
right.
All right, number 10,
That's the
sir.
toughest one. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you.
I had that moment where I saw in Gary's eyes where he's like, "Uh-oh, is he gonna have me like that Loretta Lynn meltdown in Coal Miner's Daughter right here?"
Oh,
on the
no.
show?
I was just trying not to interrupt you because I'm a talker. I just wanted to hear your story.
Yeah, we
There's
just
no
give you time to compose yourself. That's all.
Yeah. So by my counting, this is book 10.
Yes, book 10 right now.
Where has she been?
Oh.
This is Wonder Woman Volume 1, Issue 105.
Oh.
According to the Overstreet Price Guide, this is scarce. I've known that as long as I've known about Overstreet Price Guides. 105 is scarce. As a little kid, I said, I will never own a 105 because I'll never be able to find it. I'll never be able to afford it. So I will collect 106 on up. And a couple years ago, I completed 106 on up. But shortly before I did, I had an amazing night at a casino one night. And literally, it was a Wonder Woman slot machine.
Wow.
A Linda Carter Wonder Woman slot machine.
Woo.
And I had a night that has never been replicated like that. And I said, I'm going to buy me a 105 with that.
Wow.
Now, what is so rare about that book?
It's just a low print run.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's not that, I forgot where I was going with this, but because I never thought I would own one. And not only was I able to afford it, I still had money left over.
Wow. Must have been a heck of a night, Brian.
It was. And everything was profits. It wasn't one of those, well, you had to spend. I spent about $40 to end up getting this book.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
You knew she had to be somewhere in.
Oh, yeah. She was coming.
10, so,
she was coming.
They did a 3-part.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. How you doing? I'm glad I finally showed up. I was getting nervous.
So they did a issue. The Silver Age started in issue 98, and they did. They weren't 3 consecutive issues, but they spent 3 issues kind of reflushing her origin. And this is the second of the 3 parts in correcting a couple things and changing a few things around about her origin. This is the second installment of that. But for some reason, it's the only Wonder Woman book that's labeled scarce according to Overstreet. I never in my life thought I'd own it. I never had seen a physical copy in my own eyes, with my own eyes until I got it. But since then, I have actually seen 2 of them at conventions since I owned. But it was the Linda Carter Wonder Woman slot machine. So.
Wow. Great story, man.
Now I'm going to look for that book just to see if we have it at our LCS, just for fun.
See if they have it, yeah. So out of all of the books, this is why I chose it, just for the rarity of it. I purposely, when I put this list together, did not want to use a book that was A-OK to me, because so many people have been so kind to me with AOKs, but I didn't want one person to think that I placed value over another person.
Over others, right?
A book that's 50 cents is as loved by me as a book that isn't.
Right.
And I just didn't want anyone to think that I was prioritizing anything.
I don't think anybody would have made that determination wrong. If they watch your videos, that's obvious, but you know how people are.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's exactly, Brock. That's why I'm like, I won this money because of Wonder Woman. It's extra money. I don't have debt. I'm going to get something. I'm just going to do it. And I did it. And I didn't feel guilty.
It was meant to be.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that. It was almost like it was fate.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. It did help that the price had gone down a little bit at that time on eBay, but there were times you would maybe only see this book on eBay twice a year. You see it a little more often now, but for a long time you just didn't see this book, period. So that ended up at the number 10 position.
And how is it as a read?
Well,
just okay.
Wonder Woman has some great stuff in it, and it has some stuff that isn't as enjoyable. This is a little bit better than some of the non-enjoyable stuff. When they get to the let's have an adventure about kites today, those kind of books, I'm like, oh man, I love you because I can check you off in my CLZ as complete.
Right.
But to reread you, not so much. Some of the late Golden Age and very early Silver Age isn't bad though. So I did read it once, and in the future when I have reread this book, because I want to say that I flipped through every page of it and I've actually read it. But in the future, I do read an issue I have that reprints it when I want to read it. So because just in case something happened to it.
Right, you got to keep that floppy nice.
Yeah. So
right, well, let's go to your 11th with an extended story, because I don't think we've had any
stories.
Like
all of yours were extended stories.
I was gonna say.
So he's been so mousy quiet. We got to break him out of his shell.
It's so demure,
So 11, Bronze Age Wonder Woman is my jam, and that's what I just love. And sadly, a lot of those issues have never been reprinted. They're not even available digitally. One that is reprinted and available digitally is when they decided to introduce a new Cheetah. And they did that in Wonder Woman 274. On the very last page, she became Cheetah, and then she fights Wonder Woman, issue number 275. So this is Debbie Domain, who is the niece of the original Cheetah, Priscilla Rich. And essentially this group called Cobra, not the G.I. Joe group, this group called Cobra wants Priscilla Rich as Cheetah to do something for them. And she's in poor health. And she's like, I don't do that anymore. I can't. Well, unfortunately for her niece who comes to visit her that day, Priscilla Rich passes away, and they recruit her. And they essentially brainwash her. And this Cheetah was so twisted, she just wanted to kill, just to kill.
Wow.
And her ways of looking at things were very skewed, and I loved it. And they didn't use this version of Cheetah enough. So the extended story goes into when I was a little kid. I knew early on I wanted something a little extra special besides a comic book. And
wow,
here you have the original artwork to the cover.
Or the cover. Whoa.
I knew I wanted
incredible.
To cover someday.
Whoa.
And I didn't want to just buy a cover just to say it's a cover. I wanted it to be a cover I loved. Now the my favorite Wonder Woman cover, to this day, I've been unable to find the original art for. I found the issue before and I found the issue after. And I found more in that era, but I can't find that cover. And there was another one I really liked that I couldn't find either. But this I found. And I'm going to tell you how much I paid for it. But I want you to keep in mind, this was literally 21 years ago on eBay. For the paper alone, not the framing, nothing else, it was around $675.
Wow.
Nowadays, I would guess, if I had to guess, I would say this is at least a $3,000 page, if not more.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Who's the artist on that?
That's Rich Buckler with
Buckler?
Dick,
It
with
looked
Dick
like Buckler.
Giordano.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So you see there's some notes down there.
Yeah.
One of the notes to Dick Giordano is Dick Statum tight or ink it tight, we want to stat this. But to my knowledge, I've never seen this image used on any product or anything, but they had the intentions apparently to use it,
Huh.
but never ended up.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, to find a cover art like that, wow. I mean, that's a lot of that art was destroyed during that era too.
It was.
So, to find anything really that, up your alley is a boon.
Yeah. That's the magic of good old eBay.
And it looks so good in that frame with the real cover, real cover there.
Yeah. So I almost bought the cover to 228. I came close to pulling the trigger on that. That is Wonder Woman Earth 1 versus Earth 2 Wonder Woman battling each other with the Red Panzer standing behind. But background wise, it just has like a circle behind Red Panzer. It didn't have anything. Where this has the ship in the water, and my gosh, this is a beautiful cover, but the black and the pencil and inks on it, I think I almost prefer to the color,
Right. A lot of times the black and white is incredible when you see it.
Yeah. So represents my favorite era of Wonder Woman. Even enjoyed the Huntress backup stories, which you see represented there. I enjoyed those in the comic book too, which kind of drove people to the comic book for a time, because there were more people wanting to buy Huntress than Wonder Woman. So
Cool.
Who would have thought that?
Wow.
Yeah. So
Now, before we get to your spec pick, I wanted to ask you, because this was on my list of questions for tonight. What did you think of the George Perez run of Wonder Woman?
love it.
Okay.
Love the detail and the time and the effort that he put into it. Some of those things that he established is like canon going forward from then. I always recommend that to people who say, I've never read Wonder Woman, where should I read? And I'm like, if you want an enjoyable read, start there. And, his attention to detail in the artwork, but just explaining how a gun got on Themyscira. I mean, just to call it Themyscira,
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think of the character? Have you been reading modern Wonder Woman?
I have, yeah.
How do you think the character is being portrayed now? I know some people that they're all over the place with her. They need to center her again and move forward, because she was having a strong run for a little bit, and now it seems askew.
Michael Conrad and Becky Cloonan know what they're doing with this character. They write her very well. Prior to them coming on board, it was not a good time to be a Wonder Woman reader and a Wonder Woman fan. The stories were a mess. There were stories that there was one issue she was in 4 panels of the entire issue, and the rest was devoted to Darkseid's daughter. I'm not here to buy the book Grail, the comic book called Grail. I'm here to buy the book called Wonder Woman. And then there was stuff with Maxwell Lord that it was a bad storyline that just kept going on and on. But Michael Conrad, Becky Cloonan, I like that they give you little throwbacks to the past, but keep it modern at the same time. Travis Moore at the beginning was doing their interiors. Then he kind of got promoted on and just doing a lot of DC covers, which I can understand. He's an amazing artist. I miss him doing the interiors too. There's some good artists too, but I really liked his interiors with Michael and Becky's writing.
And I got to say, one of my favorite modern Wonder Woman covers was just it was just a cover, a full face Joshua Middleton cover, which I thought was incredible. It was like a portrait. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. I love the art germ where she's flying, and it's a horizontal cover.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I don't think I've seen that one. I'll have to
share that with you.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, send me a pic on IG.
I will.
Well, all right, let's get to your spec pick, sir. Let's see who you picked for
Okay.
Specky.
Because this book goes with everything else that I've shown tonight. So this is the current issue of Star Wars. Why would I pick this as my spec? It's issue 26, if you can still find it at your local comic store. And I say if because it started selling out instantly as soon as it was released. There are not one, not two, but 3 first appearances in this book. And who knows what's going to happen with Star Wars? But if you had a gamble, Star Wars universe likes to introduce a lot of their characters into bigger franchise portions like movies and TVs and stuff.
Right.
So for spec, I'm just going with this because I wanted people to have a shot to maybe still find it out in the wild for cover price. And I love Star Wars too. So that's why I picked this for my spec. And because it didn't go with anything else that I showed.
That's okay. There's nothing. So who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Princess Leia.
I knew it.
I was going to say, come on.
Not a hard
Gary,
guess.
that one. Come
I
on.
like the cinnamon bun hair. So
That was an easy call. Come on.
It was. Well, it could have. It was either her or Princess Amidala. So I was waiting to see which.
No, it's Princess Leia. Yeah.
Well, great spec pick. I did not know that about that issue, that it had 3 first appearances.
3 first appearances. So, pretty much anytime there's even 1 first appearance in a Star Wars book, people gobble it up. But 3, you just increased your odds.
Right?
So,
yeah, everybody in the chat is going to thank you probably in a month or so.
I hope.
Right.
But I'll tell you, the week this was released, which was just a couple weeks ago, it was selling for $15 on eBay the week of release.
Wow.
So,
Craziness.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure I can speak for both Roger and I when I say that was a spectacular show from you, Ryan. Amazing books, amazing stories. Thank you for sharing stuff that's so personal to you. This is what this show's about. There is nothing on this show that's about value. If you have books that are of value, that's not the important part of the book to us. The important part are the stories attached to the books and why they're important to you. Yeah. And what I like to celebrate on this show is why books are important. And I think the selections that people make give a good reflection into the person. And I think we got a good reflection about Ryan, the individual, tonight. So I want to thank you for not being scared to just come on and share your personal stories with us. I think it was amazing. Roger?
Yeah, I mean, again, when you have a certain expectation, I've known Ryan, I've seen his videos for years, but now I got to see him in a much more personal and a much more in-depth light that, sometimes you don't see that, and totally blew me away. I mean, way above my expectations, Ryan. You're just amazing.
And I knew when I was having you on tonight, Ryan, that I had to invite Roger on as the guest host.
I'm so glad. It would have been great with anyone, but when I found out that it was Roger, I'm like, oh, this is even going to be better. I was excited about this anyway. That I'm like, it's even better now. And thank you for creating this platform, not only for me, but for when I watch to learn about other folks as well. That's awesome. And
dude, it was a little spark of an idea that took off on its own. It's not me that makes the show. It's the people that are on the show that make the show.
But you offer the show to us. So that contribution is huge. No one else picked up and did it. You did it. So don't discount yourself there.
And I would like to say that Roger I pick on Roger a lot, good-heartedly, but Roger makes everything better.
Everything's better with Roger. That's what
everything is better with Roger.
Everything's better with Roger.
You guys are too much.
We're giving Comic Mag Musings the biggest upset stomach tonight.
That's the best part of the show,
There's a box of Thompson.
Bill is great too. We love Bill. We just like to pick on Bill because he likes to pick on us. Yeah. It's all goodwill out there.
We pick on those we love, and I get a lot of
love. First of all, Roger, what's coming up on your channel?
Not much. I'll probably have a special video. I'm actually thinking of doing a Dazzler special, but I may go a little bit later because there's a couple other things I want to shore up. And speaking of Bill, at the first Sunday in October, we're going to do a Werewolf by Night retrospective.
Ooh, nice.
Where we're showing all the covers, and we're going to get in depth on the character and his origins and his storylines, etc. Maybe Brian is a Topaz fan. I don't know. You might want to catch that up. And of course, I'm on Cover Slingers on Saturday afternoons with Gray Man, and we had a 100th episode today. Had an absolute blast. Congratulations!
Gray Man runs a great show on that.
Oh, we have so much fun on that show, Gary. I mean, it's literally we're spitting up, half the time,
Yeah.
But that's about it. Obviously, whenever Gary needs me and I'm available, I'd love to do this show as well.
And Ryan, what's coming up for you on your channel, sir?
Awesome. So I dropped a cover by video with Cookie from Just a Little Podcast and Comics for Thomas. We did that yesterday. And that drops every other Friday on my channel. And we did a Marvel book, a Punisher book. So that's out there. I have Fanboys Live and the Retro Review hosted on my channel tomorrow night. Even though today is Batman Day, we're celebrating Batman Day a day late with the Retro Review tomorrow and talk about the current DC Comics news. On Monday, I'll drop another YouTube short, the back issue of the week, to share. Then on Tuesday, my regular comic book editions videos drop on Tuesday afternoons. This is an AOK from my friend in Brazil. And he always sends me amazing stuff, but he loves to get me, because I love them, the comic books, old comic books that had different covers over in Brazil than they had here in the United States. So there's some DC ones that he sent this time. No Wonder Woman, surprisingly, in this. All non-Wonder Woman. So that's the next video that's coming on my channel. And I quickly, if it's okay, I'd like to add that I'm going to be a guest on Silver Hair Bronze Age Babes live dive tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 4 Central. And we're talking about Nubia, the Wonder Woman she's the queen of the Amazons currently. And This year is her 50th anniversary, comes up in a few weeks. So we're going to live dive about Nubia tomorrow on Shebab's channel.
Nice.
Hey, and if you bronze hair, silver hair, Bronze Age babe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Sarah. Yeah.
Right. Now I reached out to her. I don't think she ever saw it. If you could put in a good word about her being on this show, I would appreciate it.
She has, I'm a huge fan of her too. She has so much passion. She always leaves me wanting more when I watch her videos of, tell me more about this, or tell me more about your remembrance of this, or we'll get her on this show.
Yeah, she's amazing. Her collection of Lois Lane, her knowledge of Superman, the bat-splaining, the Superman splaining,
and Neil Adams. She loves Neil Adams.
Oh yeah, she's a huge fan. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if she saw my message. Like, I have no idea who this jerk is. I'm not responding to him.
No, I'll talk to her about it. I'll tell her I came on the show and almost cried. But it has nothing to do with you.
Oh, no, awesome. All right. I have coming up on the next The 1011, Rob Fat Stacks of Comics. And next week on In the Hot Seat with the Usual Suspects, we have Cole from Cole's Comic Claims.
Oh, nice.
So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. And a lot of fun. Of course, I put up my new Savage Saturday comic review. If you guys haven't checked that out, check it out. You know me, I'm a Conan head. Today's story, though, was a Solomon Kane feature. All my Robert E. Howard characters, I got to get to them. So that's what we have coming up. I want to thank the audience. We had a great turnout tonight. Thank you for coming out to support my co-host and to support my guests. I thank you guys a lot. I really appreciate that you guys tune into this show. This has become my favorite thing to do on my channel. I absolutely love doing this show. I love listening to people's stories. I love learning about them through their comics, and I can't do this if nobody's watching. So thank you guys so much for all the support, and thank all of you who co-host. Thank all of you who come on as guests. I certainly appreciate it. You have no idea how much. But that's our show for tonight, guys. Again, thank you all, and until next time, keep it casual.
Bye.
Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code Keep It Casual for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.